and rest.
How do we acknowledge the bruised?
Summer respite. I hope you had some nice time with family and friends to enjoy a little bit of the summer and didn't work too hard during
Love
August
begins
recess.
with
At this
understanding.
time, as I said, we're called to
We are
order, and
people
I'll
of
ask for a
every
motion
color,
to approve
creed,
the agenda.
gender, ability, and lifestyle.
Also approved.
We are united in
Okay, moved
humanity
by
and
Second.
Councilmember Blunt.
diversity.
Is there a
in more
second?
acceptance of
Second.
one another.
Seconded by
We are
Councilmember Rout. Any
stronger
discussion
together.
or
For our
amendments?
children.
Hearing none,
For
I'll
our
call for the vote.
economy.
All in favor,
For
let it
our
be known by the
well-being.
saying of
To
aye.
ensure a bright
Aye.
future.
Any
Inclusion
nays?
is the
The
best
ayes have it.
option.
Thank you
This
so
is a
much. The next
conversation, and
item is
it's
the
time
approval of
to
the
talk.
minutes for the July 11th, 2022 work session. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Councilmember Rout. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Brown. Any corrections, discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the motion. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. At this time, I want to move right into the special appearances because we're very fortunate to have Senator Malcolm Augustine of District 47 with us this evening. Senator Augustine, I wanted to turn it over to you for an opportunity to talk about the upcoming picnic.
Thank you, Mayor. I really do appreciate that. It's good to be with you all this evening. Senator Malcolm Augustine, very pleased to announce that we will be hosting a District 47 cookout at Bladensburg Waterfront Park between 12 and 4 o'clock on this Saturday. I'm hopeful that folks from Bladensburg will come out. You know, it's our crown jewel there, the park. We will have folks there who will be assisting with things like energy assistance and other healthcare matters. We'll have games and fun things. And I just hope that folks will come out. And we really look forward to seeing them on Saturday between 12 and 4 at Bladensburg Waterfront Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And is there any support you need from the town in terms of traffic support or, anything? I wanted to make sure that we can support any additional needs that you and the delegation may have.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Mayor. We will absolutely be in touch in the next day or two if that is the case. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I know
Okay.
traffic control on that side of town can be super helpful trying to move bodies safely across Annapolis Road. So I look forward to hearing more.
Thank you.
And Senator, while we have you, thank you for your advocacy as it relates to some of the home or resident living conditions that we've had to deal with over the summer, as well as the Bladensburg High School football field or track and field. I'll give an update a little later in the meeting, but just want to thank you for always supporting and helping us get things done in Bladensburg and the entire District 47.
Really do appreciate that, Mayor, all the work that you all do. And I'm just pleased to be your partner on that. So whatever way I can be helpful, please do let me know. Thank you very much.
Will do. Thank you. Have a safe evening.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
All right, so that concludes our appearances for tonight's work session. Mr. Charnovich is under the weather this evening, so we encouraged him to stay home and be well. So I didn't know if Mr. Hall was on the line or anyone else from the team that might be able to give us the State Highway 769 update. If not, we can table this until the October meeting. But I think Mr. Charnovich was running point in terms of the communication and updates. So is that all right with the council if we just table that until next meeting? Okay. And by the same token, with the 57th Avenue project, I had asked him for an update on that, but I think we're going to have to hold off on getting more of an update until he can return next month. So if the council is amenable to that, I would just ask that we table that for next month. Just put a note here. Mr. Tonelli, on the next item, the refuse contract RFP, I know we talked about this a few months back. Again, understanding Mr. Charnovich couldn't join us tonight, but on the staff update side, is there anything you can share with the council in terms of where we are? I know there was some input in terms of putting out an RFP. So again, if that needs to be an October item, that's totally fine. We're going to have to adjust that meeting anyway. So
I can just touch on it briefly since
okay.
Our contract expired over a year ago. I think it's been beyond that, and we have been month to month with our current provider, and they've held they've been gracious enough to extend the same monthly pricing per the contract that we engaged in back in 2015 to start in 2016, I believe. And with the fuel increases and supply issues, trying to get new vehicles, and I know they've had some issues trying to keep the fleet on the road and everything. What they've done is what we've seen across the industry, the trucking industry, is they did a substantial fuel adjustment that raised the price of our contract about $8,000 a month, and that started in June 1, and we've been seeing that since. And but we do have to go out and solicit a new contract. But by the time we found this out, it was probably about the worst time to go out and look for a contract, because most companies want to be in a long-term 3 to 5 year contract. And if you try to bid this service out when the fuel prices are at the very highest point, you're locked in for that for a few years. So if anything, if we're waiting, until October and maybe November to put a bid out when the fuel prices have come down, diesel prices have come down, as demand has decreased because the kids are back in school, people are traveling less, everything else. So fuel prices keep coming down, but that's where all this has started. So, but again, this is something that we're going to have to probably pick up at the next meeting at least. And there is a state contract, and there is, but again, that came out at the higher end of the prices. So this is a state contract, assuming that they are going to provide service in a larger area. I mean, get down to smaller municipality like us, I think we could do a lot better than trying to piggyback on a state contract with the current vendor out there. But that's just my, I have no idea until all this goes through the process, but that's just what I think about
How
it.
do we acknowledge the bruised?
That's definitely
while
helpful,
broken?
and especially factoring in the cost of fuel at a negative time. Right now where rates are still high, they've come down a little bit, but still, we'd love to see them come down further. So I think it is helpful for the council to just hear the benefit of holding till October or November before we go out there to see where we are, especially with those gas prices at that point. I'm just worried about next after November. Now you're into holiday season, so does that increase, activity, holiday travel? Will that have a negative impact on prices, or no impact at all until next Memorial Day? So anyway, appreciate that feedback, and just look forward to having a more robust.
Real quick, the best time for fuel prices to stabilize is right before that and after hurricane season.
Gotcha.
So that is like the ideal time to, if we can get into something there before the
creed, gender,
winter storms, stop traffic and everything else.
Humanity.
Good advice. Thank you, Mr. Numbers Man.
We are stronger together.
All right.
For our children.
So
For our
Mayor
economy.
James?
For
I'm
our
sorry, I
well-being.
did not see your
To
hand. Go
ensure
ahead,
a bright
Councilmember
future,
Rout.
inclusion
I just
is the
do we
best
know
option.
how many of our counterparts, I can't talk today, how many of our counterparts are using Bates? Have we hi, community dog. Do we know
That offered emotional support. Thank you, Rocky. As we were talking about stressful gas prices.
Yes. do we know how many of our counterparts in this area across the county, who they are using? Like, has that, could we explore having our staff reach out to some of our partner municipalities? I'm just curious to see who else is using and who, you know?
Mhm.
And I can follow up since Mr. Charnovich will be kind of leading that process, Councilmember Route, to ask him to reach out. I know in the past, the port towns has tried to use the same vendor, so I can ask him to contact the port towns and then look within the inner beltway communities. But if there's others outside of that that you would be interested in having him reach out to, just let me know so we can give him a good list of other municipalities to go out to.
A little south, Riverdale, a little, that's north, that's not
Mhm.
south. A little north, Riverdale, I feel like they're comparable as it relates to like maybe a little bit. Because I know we used their comparable numbers in the past. And then a little, I mean, Landover Hills. I mean, I'm just any comparable within this, you know, jurisdiction of where we are, locality in where we are. I think it's just important just to see, are they having the same refreshing contract? You know, where are we in comparison to them? Because I just want us to, you know, just keep our ear to the ground to see who all is using who and what are some of their hurdles.
Yep, I was taking notes as you were speaking. Sorry if I was typing loud, but I'll send that over to Mr. Charnovich so he can reach out to those communities. Councilmember Brown?
Yeah, just really, real quick, and we may be able to get some of that data from MML.
Okay,
We can
good
say.
advice. Okay, thank you for that. So I'll just mention that to him as well, so he can come back with that information for the October meeting, or hopefully prior to, so that we can have that just as a point of reference before the October meeting when we have to come back and discuss it. So thank you for those recommendations. So on this next agenda item, which is the Bladensburg High School track and field, I wanted to give just a brief community update. Mr. Gray, I'm going to try to share my screen. I know Mr. Tonelli is the pro at this. So I'm going to try to do this. I know once you have your screen up, it's hard to see whether or not you have, everyone can see it. So if you could just yell at me and let me know. Let's see. Okay, share. Screen 2. Okay, are you able to see the mock-up here?
Cool.
So this is not an exact replica, but just to give the community an idea of the direction that AD Trueblood, Principal Faulkner Jones, and the Prince George's County Public School System are looking at for our new track and field. They initially were supposed to have this project completed in the fall of 2021. Unfortunately, there were some delays. Project cost doubled from 2.2 million to 4.4 over the last few years, just because it's taken so much time to get to this point. And so they did need some additional time to come up with those resources. The long story short is we're finally moving forward. And so again, I wanted the community to just get an idea of what the school system is looking to provide to the school community here. And then just to provide an update in terms of the timelines. And so where we are for the fall priorities on the construction for the football field is, let me try to do this. Sorry, I'm on 2 screens and the sharing kind of made my update minimize. Okay, I'm back at it. So in terms of the stadium field and pedestrian egress lighting, the design and permitting of this work is projected to be completed and approved by the end of October. So the lighting as you walk along the path exiting the football field for safety of the community, because in the fall it does get darker earlier. That's why that lighting work is so important in that egress area there. But upon approval, the contractor will begin mobilizing on-site and mobile installation of those items. And the scope includes stadium lighting, again, the egress lighting at the exit stairs and ramp, and lighting also under the home bleachers. In terms of the design and permit status, the design of the turf field and track and field improvements is roughly 75% complete, with permitting currently at 10% complete. As we all know, sometimes the permitting process takes a bit longer. They have started initial concept review. They, being the school system, has started initial concept review with submission with DPI, and are projecting to receive permit approval around mid-December. So just as the kids are breaking for the holiday. And at that point, they anticipate being able to start construction. The preliminary construction schedule for the stadium field and pedestrian lighting, so that will be scheduled to start at the beginning of November and end by the end of December. But because of the weather going into December, the turf field and the track and field elements, including the scoreboard, will most likely not begin until early 2023, with completion by July 1, 2023. So just again, wanted to come back to the residents, because this has been a concern for many, many, many years. And especially to those who are parents of children attending Bladensburg High School, given all the issues with flooding and so forth. So let me see if I can stop the share without crashing the meeting. Looks like I did it. But again, just wanted to give everyone a visual on what we're working toward and some timelines as we continue moving forward on that project. Any comments or questions? Okay. So that completes old business for tonight's work session. The next item is regarding the Maryland Municipal League Fall Conference. And Mr. Charnovich had sent a note out to the council because of the dates that this year's fall conference occurs over. It starts October 9th and goes through Tuesday, October 11th. So that means it's occurring over Monday, October 10th. So wanted to know if Councilmember Rout, you want to just do the council meeting by yourself and run it and make all the votes? Or do you all want to look at rescheduling? And if we're looking to reschedule, the let me go back to Mr. Charnovich's note in terms of the dates. So the options for Mondays in October would be either a week early on October 3rd or a week later, October 17th. If we do the 24th or 30th, now we're getting much closer into the November meeting. So wanted to open it up for feedback from the council.
Mayor, I'm fine with October the 3rd. And
Okay.
especially since we had to move, table, some things from this meeting to next meeting. And then if there's something else that we may need to address later on in the month, we can do so, but that's me.
Yeah. I know from my side, October 3rd works much better than the 17th. I won't be available the 17th, but there'll be, I'm sure, enough if that ends up being the better date for everyone else. Councilmember Blunt, your feedback?
No, the 3rd is fine. And
okay.
Yeah, 3rd is fine.
Okay.
The 3rd is fine for me as well.
Okay. Councilmember McBride?
3rd is fine for me also.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so I'll follow up with Mr. Charnovich and let him know that works best for the council to go ahead and get that public notification out. But thank you all for sharing your availability. And then the other item, so I kind of merged the item A into B, mentioning the conference, but do want to just call out myself, council members, Blunt, I believe, McBride and Brown will all be attending. And then moving down to item C on National League of Cities, I know Councilmember Rout is planning to attend that. conference as well. I also would like to attend NLC, but wanted to ask, was anyone else interested in attending NLC so we can ask staff to take care of the registrations for that?
Mayor would like to take a look at it and before giving a yes or no, but I will have an answer by the end of the week. Is that good?
That works.
The
And
timely and the-
yeah, and if you want to kind of get a sense for the daily schedule, I'm not sure if you had a chance to review it, but Mr. Charnovich did put the like sort of the schedule at a glance in the packet to
Mhm.
see, you know, so you can kind of see what works best for your schedule.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll let them know it's 2 and a maybe. Okay. All right. And then moving down to the next item with respect to our project on the new municipal center, as well as the new trade school, I wanted to open that up to the council for some feedback there, because we do need to move those projects, at least initially, to get some groundwork started on there, and wanted to get your thoughts on securing some consulting assistance to help us do the initial work to start moving that those projects along. So I'll just go around the room. Councilmember Blunt. I'm just going like left to right here. Uh-oh.
Can you go the other way?
Okay. Sure. Councilmember Brown.
Did you say Brown or Rouse?
Yes, Brown.
Can you go to Rouse, please? Sorry.
Oh my goodness, y'all are funny. Everybody's a little rusty from August.
I'm
Like,
joking.
wait a minute, what?
I'm joking. So I think are you asking for whether or not what my opinion is about the consultant?
Yeah, in terms of getting some consultant help, because we're down without the town administrator, and we need to work to fill that gap, but we don't want
Right.
the progress of those projects to be held up overall. So
Mhm.
at least if we got a consultant who could start with the groundwork of getting more accurate proposals, understanding what that looks like, and helping us with those initial steps. Oh my gosh, everybody's getting love from Rocky tonight. Oh my gosh. All right, we got to go back to in person so we can just pass him down the dais. He's beautiful. I apologize. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
First time
And it was funny.
since mine passed, so.
It was funny because I told Chief on Saturday, I said, well, I said, I hope he's the community dog because he's getting real spoiled if he's supposed to be on the job.
That is too funny.
He's pretty. He's very pretty too. Very pretty.
Sorry, y'all.
That's okay. That's okay.
Hard to
we need
resist.
that. We need that. We
That's
need
the
that.
emotional support. There you
Yes,
have it.
Yes. As it's working.
So
But,
I'm gonna leave and let you guys
I
take this
really
and drive
love
down to
him.
town hall.
I really love him. Oh, yes. But yeah, man, I do agree with the consultant, and that's the one to come in on a temporary basis will help assist with, as you said, going out, getting some, lining up the projects, getting some, bringing back some information, and then because it's not in place of, but it's just to kind of assist and help with moving the process along until we do get a new town administrator. Right.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. Sticking with Ward 1, Councilmember Rout.
Thank you, Mayor James. I concur with my colleague, Councilmember Brown. I do think, though, one slight change is that even with the town administrator new coming on board, I would like to see the consultant remain, just because two capital projects, that's a lot to put on somebody's plate as it relates to being acclimated to the new role, taking on, the necessary things that we need here, in town. And so I wouldn't want to overwhelm working on a capital project is just, I've experienced it. It's a lot. It's a lot with change orders and things that may happen and investigations. And I mean, it's just a lot. So I would like for us to hire a consultant as we discussed in the budget session that was approved by all of us.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Rout. And you're so right, because in terms of all the transitions that happen with onboarding someone, you don't want to dump everything on them just because they walked in the door. And also because that town administrator will also have, personnel functions and all these other things, helping with payroll. So I think you're right to just have a little bit more support on so that we don't just drop the ball on that individual all at once. Makes a whole lot of sense. Councilmember McBride.
I wholeheartedly agree.
All right, thank you. And Councilmember Blunt.
You all couldn't have said it better.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay, so we'll definitely share that feedback with Mr. Charnovich so he can move forward in terms of helping us create the job description, the posting for the consultant ad to get out there as quickly as possible so we can start moving forward in that regard. And then moving to new business item E, which is the rental stabilization program. So over the summer, we had a couple of situations where members of the council heard from residents who experienced steep rental rate hikes. And we're talking about residents who've lived here in one case 20-something years, in another case 16 years, and to have a significant jump from reduced affordable rental to market rate. And so we had the council members from Ward 1 in particular, and myself, we sat in on a meeting with the property managers and residents to really understand their concerns. And similarly, I know I've heard from a couple of our senior residents their concerns with how much their rent is jumping and the fact that it's outpacing their fixed incomes. And so I'm not proposing tonight that we pass legislation to address this, but want to start so that we can be thoughtful in our approach on how we work with our residents and the property managers. We can certainly work with the owners and the renters to come to a happy medium, but wanted to just discuss with you all the ways that we move forward. And so in the packets were a couple of documents. One was from the city of Tacoma Park, who did pass rent stabilization legislation, just so you can see how another municipality was able to accomplish this. And excuse me, if you didn't get a chance to complete the reading, because it is lengthy, would just ask if you could do that by the October meeting so we can talk a little bit more about it. Tonight was really just to introduce the concept for discussion and for a bit of a brainstorm. We also, from our attorney, received information on College Park's program, just so, again, we can see how other municipalities were able to address this in a reasonable manner. I want to turn it over to Councilmember Rout, because when she and I were talking about it, we were just discussing some ways that we could, work with other partners in order to get to a good resolution here. So Councilmember Rout, I want to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor James. And thank you for calling me today to really, I had thought, like I said, I thought I had missed a deliverable, seeing that on the agenda, but nevertheless, I reached out to Legal Aid on behalf of, in collaboration with a couple of the residents who were severely affected. And Legal Aid was, Community Legal Assistance was the one to suggest that, there's power with the council as it relates to looking at rent control. But she reminded me, this particular senior legal advisor who works there had advised me that the code is still present on the county's, the code for rent control is still present. And so there was a time lapse because the state of emergency ended. But the mere fact that it's still there creates an opportunity for one, us to rally and propose and suggest that there's action taken by the county council, which would move the ball from small municipality to countywide. And speaking with Councilmember Brown yesterday and previous matters to assist these residents, we are confident that we are not the only municipality that is experiencing this issue. It is across the United States, let alone the state of Maryland, let alone the county. In addition, this may be something that we want to bring to PGCMA as a legislative priority, since it does impact other communities like the town of Bladensburg within Prince George's County, so that we can see if we can utilize our partnerships and resources to look at ways we can countywide attack this issue, because it is impacting all of us. I do also think it is worth having our town attorney, in collaboration with Mayor James earlier, prior to our meeting today, we were thinking about having our attorney really sit down with us, maybe at our next meeting, to walk us through, because honestly, I read the thing like 3 times and I was so confused, and I was very concerned that I wasn't understanding what was written, because there's lots of legal jargon, and to my understanding, College Park had got sued, but they ended up winning. But I don't want to, Mayor James, you could share about that part, but it is a lot of, from what it looks like, it's very intricate as it relates to a committee working on this, to look at this. And I just, we just want to make sure that we have a vast understanding, because at this time I do not. I don't, as I read it and reread it and reread it, I still don't understand, the big picture of what we need to do. I yield.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councilmember Rao. And that was the idea, to just put it out on the table today, let the public know this is what we're looking into, this is why, this is how it came up. And then in the October work session, invite Mrs. Ferguson, our town attorney, to come in and just walk us through the intricacies, the process of how you go about doing this, because there's some very specific actions. You have to have a commission established who reviews any sort of requests for leniency or exemptions from this. There's so many strict things that we would have to put in place to go down this road. And so I just want to make sure we weigh all the costs of Bladensburg going it alone versus looking at our options, as Councilmember Rout said, advocating with our PGCMA partners so we can spread, any sort of costs if it comes to that, versus going it alone, but still ultimately achieving affordable rents for our residents. So again, just wanted to throw it out there, not for a decision for anyone to vote on anything tonight, but if we break up in some study groups to get ready for next week, we do two here, 2 there, I think that will help us come up with a list of those questions, just to make sure that we maximize the expertise from Mrs. Ferguson when she's able to join us in October for the meeting. So that completes the discussion on the rental stabilization. Mr. Reinhardt, I thought maybe you were going to appear with Rocky this time. It seems to be bouncing from box to box. I kind of did a double take. Oh man. Or feel free, if you're home, you have the family dog there, let him make an appearance, him or her. So the next item is the Rain Barrel program, and wanted to just, again, in the spirit of introducing concepts to the council and the community, wanted to just mention the Prince George's County government has a rain check rebate program. And through that program, there are specific actions that homeowners can take in order to get rebates back for their stormwater mitigation efforts. So for example, there's a fee structure for cisterns, for green roofs, pavement removal, permeable pavement installation, rain barrels, rain gardens, as well as urban tree canopies. And along those lines, I have not noticed many of our residents utilizing rain barrels. So I wanted to, I was wondering, is it just me, or I wanted to ask, has any of the other council or staff noticed in the community a prevalence of rain barrels with our homeowners? No.
So, Mayor James, may I speak?
Yes, go ahead, Councilmember Rout.
So, my neighbor has two or those, and it was told before there was like some type of liquid, but it's actually a rain barrel. But other than them, I don't know of any other neighbor in Ward 1. Maybe Officer Reinhardt, you know.
Thank you. I would have to say there's probably maybe 10 or 15 residents that do have the rain barrels. I know they're quite costly if you're going to get them from like a home goods store. I know we, the town, especially at the Bladensburg property, we do have several rain barrels up there that are utilized. But like I said, I know with Councilwoman Rout, her neighbor has one, and there may be a handful more in Ward 1, but they're not a popular item currently in the town.
Thank you for that, Officer Reinhardt. And so that's what made me I suspected that was the case, and which is why I was thinking, because I think maybe we're a year or two away from recertification for Sustainable Maryland. This could be an opportunity for us to meet some of the goals that we identified as part of our objectives to keep that certification, as well as the Maryland Sustainability Program. And so wanted to see if the council might be interested in piloting a program where we really champion the Rain Barrel program. We leverage working with the green team, because Elizabeth Seaton has a green team and is willing to work with the town's green team. Same with Bladensburg High School. So to just build some momentum around capturing a lot of the stormwater runoff that we're experiencing on days like this, where, out of the blue, here you have these storms popping up and really just dumping huge amounts of waters in very low-lying areas. And I wish Mr. Hall was on here, because we did discuss getting the rain barrels for the Bostwick. They were very costly. I want to say like $30 or $20. And so that's what made me think, well, if we purchased a bulk order of say 25 or 50, not super large, and we just started a pilot with that to encourage residents to sign up and really highlight that they're doing this to encourage other neighbors. This could be a really great way in those heavily saturated areas like Bladenwoods Commons, behind that terrace level where they're up near the creek. Perhaps identify and really target places like that where we see residents being hit. Especially now that we're in hurricane season, and I think more of these storms are going to be happening. That would be a great way to, try to mitigate some of the damage that's being done, from these heavy rainfalls. Councilmember Rout, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor James. I am in full support of that, of being able for the town to purchase like a bulk order. And then if we could maybe record the rain barrel, the gentleman that helped us with the Bostwick project, if we could like record that and get Mr. Jeffries to be able to put it on our YouTube channel, so that we can give instructions, right? So that, because I'm a visual learner, so if you just handed me something on a paper, I wouldn't be able to follow it. YouTube is something that